Hello and welcome back for another reading from Hot Flash Divas. I'm the author Shirley Garrett, and today we're reading chapter 32 titled My Neighborhood. Many nights I returned home from work and practiced my footwork while cooking, cleaning, and going about other tasks in my life. If someone bugged my home during that period, the microphone would pick up many 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, or slow, slow, quick, quick, slow conversations. Buffy had no idea what I was doing, but she pranced around joining in the fun. Sometimes she would lie nearby and cock her head from side to side. Once while I was dancing around, I spied my neighbor Mike gawking at me through the breakfast nook windows. He shook his head and continued to mow his grass. From the expression screwed on his face, I believed he thought I was even stranger than he suspected. I resided in a nice, peaceful subdivision populated by families with well-kept lawns and frolicking children. I was the only single lady there. As a childless divorcee with a dog, I kept receiving vibes that the neighborhood women viewed me as a threat. They would smile and wave, but that was the extent of our interactions. I tried starting conversations with several of the ladies at chance encounters near the mailbox. After a few brief words, they would excuse themselves and leave. I baked cookies and took them to my closest neighbors. Each of the wives smiled and thanked me for the treats, but none of them invited me into their homes to share a cookie over a cup of coffee. One Friday night, the Divas and I discussed my neighborhood on our first girls' night out in ages. We were seated in a circular booth in the bar section of a chain restaurant. Sipping a glass of Pinot Noir, Kat asked, "Have your neighbors warmed up to you yet?" I pulled a basket of popcorn closer. I think my female neighbors see me as a sex-crazed divorcee. Maybe they think I want to lure their husbands away from them while I mow my lawn. I tossed some popcorn into my mouth and chewed. They all tittered. It was May. The deluges of rain combined with unseasonably warm temperatures had served to coax my grass and weeds out of hibernation. Kat cocked her head. "Are you mowing your lawn in a bikini?" I giggled at the thought. More like baggy, grungy work clothes with a sun hat. "You have to watch those sun hats. They drive men wild with desire." Letitia pantomimed Betty Boot for a few beats before she reached over and stuffed her mouth with some pretzels. Gina was swirling her glass of Merlot. "It can't be that bad," she said. "In reality, the ladies should all send me thank you notes. If I start my mower, I only make 2 passes across the front lawn before I hear garage doors rising. My male neighbors crank up their green and yellow John Deere lawn tractors and roar out of their garages. Vroom, vroom." Letitia laughed so hard I thought she would spill her margarita. I, on the other hand, sipped mine with utmost care. Licking the salt from my lips, I continued. I'm not sure if I shamed them into cutting the grass or if they feel the need to show off the superiority of their lawn equipment compared to my hand-me-down mower. Chuckling, Gina asked, "Isn't that your dad's old mower?" "Yep. I just putt-putt along while these guys zoom back and forth, creating complicated angle patterns on their lawns." "Come to my house," said Letitia. "My next-door neighbor lets his grass get high before he even cuts it." Maybe she'll shame him into action. Disapproval clouded her face. "I will say this. I feel safe in my neighborhood. A Huntsville police officer who works the day shift is across the street, and the Madison County Sheriff's detective who works the night shift lives in the cul-de-sac." "That's around-the-clock coverage," said Kat as she watched a tall blond man walk past. Letitia smacked her lips. "My, he's got a fine ass." She leaned over for a better view. Kat blushed and looked down. fiddling with her cocktail napkin. Letitia pinned Cat with her gaze. Don't tell me you weren't checking him out. Guilty, Cat's blush bloomed from pink to red. We all turned to watch the guy pull out a stool at the bar and climb aboard next to an equally attractive man. Right on, cowboy. Letitia acted like she was twirling a lasso. Letitia wiped the salt off her nose and said, Not my type. However, that luscious hunk of man next to him is my type. We all turned to check out her choice. By now, Cat's complexion had advanced from red to puce. All right, ladies, let's reel it in, or Cat will be too embarrassed to join us again. I nudged Gina. Just so you know, Gina emptied her wine glass, I would never attempt to hogtie that man on one wine. She caught the bartender's attention and motioned for another. Two is entirely another matter. Letitia put down her glass. I hate to change the subjects, but I need some advice. I've got to have the birds and bees conversation with Dante. These brazen little girls from school are calling him at home. Can you believe it? My baby's only 12. Her brow furrowed with disapproval. I have some excellent pamphlets that you can use. Cat pulled her phone from her purse to check a text. I let Jack read them before we talked. Letitia nodded and reached for the pretzels. That's good. Maybe if he reads those, I won't have to answer as many questions. Gina's eyes never strayed from the guy on the bar stool. Sex talks. I knew there was some reason I avoided having kids. She grabbed the card that listed the wines and fanned at a frantic rate. Is it hot in here? Her face bloomed pink like a carnation. We exchanged glances. Letitia helped her out of her suit jacket while I moved so she could escape to the ladies' room. Damn things sneak out of nowhere. Why don't men have hot flashes? Frowning, Letitia continued to sip her drink. The two guys seated at the bar were now laughing. All our gazes turned in their direction. Gina returned and gestured for us to let her back into the booth. Once settled, Gina held her glass up for a toast. To the hot flash divas, may we set the world on fire with our charm and sex appeal. And hot flashes, I added. I'll drink to that, said Cat. If we don't self-combust first, said Gina, and she continued to fan herself. Why don't you go talk to that guy, Phoenix? Surprised, I said, You're the one who wants to hog-tie him. Gina nudged me. Go ahead. Let's see how a psychologist does it. Impress us with your Freudian roping technique. Letitia raised her glass to me. Go on, girl. Show us what you got. Cat reached across the table and put her hand on mine, shooting a glare at the others. Give her a break. She hasn't even had a date yet. Fueled by tequila courage, I slid my hand from Cat's. I'll go talk to them. It's no big deal. Maybe they have some more friends? I wiggled out of the booth and straightened my clothes. I took 4 steps and paused. What am I doing? I looked back at the divas. Cat looked concerned. Gina was grinning as she pantomimed twirling a lasso. Letitia made the shooing motions with her hands. I thrust my breast forward and walked over to the two guys. Feeling a little dizzy, I sat down on a stool next to the blonde Adonis. I slid a sideways glance his way. What now? I was about to introduce myself, and the two gorgeous hunks we drooled over left their stools. They draped their arms around each other in an intimate way and strolled past the divas. I wanted to hide under the bar stool. I glanced around to see who noticed. The bartender was busy at the other end of the bar, and the other patrons were involved in conversation. I popped off that stool like bread from a toaster and scooted back to the booth. Gina's eyes were wide with surprise. My mistake, Fee. You won't be riding that bull. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, leave comments, share if you would like. And of course, stay safe and stay well. Hope to see you for the next reading.